Hello, Eva.
Alina, nice to see you again.
Welcome back to our conversational space. As we were discussing in our previous meetings, I think we can both agree that conversation is the good way of engaging with other people as long as we can have the skills and the willingness to have meaningful conversations. Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. I mean, first, I love that we have these conversational spaces where we can see each other through the technical possibility being in two different locations and have an exchange so that we can see and hear and feel how we are on maybe different pages about subjects or how we on the same page and have these lovely exchanges. You know, I love that we talked about like the title of the art of conversations or art of communication, because I'm making this movement as I really feel that there's a certain artistry in how to engage with somebody else in an exchange, and it needs skills. It needs a certain, as you said, willful willingness, and it really asks a lot of different ingredients that are essential.
And to let our listeners just have a glimpse of what is in the background of our idea of the art of conversation as an open space where we can through conversations also inspire and offer some practical elements for those that are listening to us to maybe master more skillfully their conversations, either in personal life or professional life. And for that, the main reference for us was the fact that we engage a lot and extensively ourselves in conversation. And it's something that we both encourage and nourish, especially these days when a lot of people have challenges connecting with their loved ones or with their peers because of the environment that is becoming more and more or less and less friendly with in-person conversation, but at least through screens as we are engaged now, we have some sort of old-fashioned way of engaging in conversations, and that is through visual and auditory interaction, not texting or swiping in the way a lot of people engage these days. So based on our own experience, I would say, and our common shared commitment to bring more and more meaning to the conversations that we have and also the people listening to us have, was the seed or the starting point for our project together, the art of conversation. Maybe we'll keep it under this title or change it a little bit to make it more meaningful for everyone involved. But that would be like introduction of something that we both hope that will bring value to all those listening to us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I think there are two comments from me. Human beings, people are creatures of meaning making. We need meanings and we need to share stories. And we're also wired for connection. And in these days where connection with a real person, with a human being gets more and more replaced by devices or technical possibilities, which is exciting. Yet all the research is showing now more and more how the more connected, let's say on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever the possibilities people are, the more we're also noticing an epidemic of loneliness and an epidemic of anxiety and depression. So there's knowledge around a relationship and a certain quality of engagement is key. And I guess, call me old fashioned. I'm born in the 70s and I am really returning back to these very old fashion, ways of communicating and connecting, also from my personal reference. It's my expertise in teaching it, but also from me as a person, when I am talking to a loved one, like you, like other friends, in a old-fashioned way or in a bridged way now with the new technology, because we need to gap the location or fill the gap, then I feel more happy, more connected to me, and more alive. And I wish more of that for many people that we can touch.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's really something that we both intend to bring to the people that are listening to us. Also practical tools or elements that can be very easily implemented in their day-to-day engagements and conversations. And also some aspects, maybe more abstract, that can help in developing meaningful conversation and meaningful relationships over time in this live setting of seeing people in live interaction and looking into their eyes and paying attention to the signals that they send and how messages can be sent and received and how we make meaning of what is presented to us and what we present as senders of significant messages. It may sound complex or complicated even,
Yeah.
but I think we at least are committed to do our best to simplify it and to make it as friendly as possible and not keep it complicated. Life is complicated enough already. We don't want to make it more so.
Yes, that's true.
So maybe give us a bit of time to mention what are some of the ideas that we are starting off with.
Yeah. You know, I'm thinking in terms of the context where a conversation takes place matters. For example, now we see each other in Zoom as a different context than I invite somebody here next to me and we have a face-to-face conversation. Do we have distraction or no distraction? So there's contextual elements. We can talk about those. Timing matters. I hope that we can touch upon that as one of the frames, and then some elements that we can talk about who's talking to who. Talking about, I tend to talk about hats, the roles that we have. Is there a mother talking to the daughter? Is it a sister talking to the sister? Is it a friend to a friend? Is it a leader talking to the coworker? And sometimes they have multiple hats. We can also talk about specific skills in using language, in using specific words that have certain symbolic meaning, so that I'm really attentive to how I speak. I think in terms of having what I call like a golden thread of how to unpack a whole conversation with different elements. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end. And what are the core elements that help me to have a guideline and go along this thread of this conversation. And I think there are many other practical things that we can really put our attention to send out what we're really intending to send out in having this conversation, and to have an impact that is desirable rather than see what happens.
Yeah, we thought of some significant topics and also practical ones as well as more elaborate ones and those that maybe are more subtle or more difficult to notice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yet we would also like to engage our audience in coming up with topics that are relevant for them. So for you listening to us or watching us right now, please send us your input on and your challenges regarding communication and conversations. Maybe there's a specific thing that you are challenged with these days, or maybe you have been struggling for a while with something related to how you communicate or how other people's communication is affecting you and your performance or your relationships or whatever in whatever aspect, either personal or professional. So that we wanted to make it as applicable and as pragmatic as possible, not just theory and abstract things, but things that are really something that you can relate and connect and implement so that you improve not just your communication, but your overall experience of relationship.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think it's great to engage everybody who's listening to have practical challenges and questions so that we can then link all the different ways that we have professionally as skills, as competencies to link them to the desirable goals to be achieved or the problems to be solved so that there's flesh and blood and humanness in this whole conversation between us, but also beyond us, and so having a rich exchange. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and really valuable also for ourselves, as we will have a connection with you that are listening to us. So it will not be just our own conversation, so just the two of us, but also the connection with the larger system, literally. So that would be for a first contact, let's say, for an intro to what is to come in this conversational space. And I'm looking forward to your inputs and messages, and see you in the next episode.